Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Boy That Loved, a Boys Love podcast, hosted by me, Dion. We're doing another mini-sode. For today's video, I just kind of wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking about lately. And what I've noticed is that a lot of the discourse around the boys' love stuff can be, and it oftentimes is, very on the surface, and it seems to want to stay there, and people want to argue about surface level stuff. And what I mean is like when a show has a character presented as the bad guy, it doesn't matter how they do it, if they are in some way opposing our main character, the audience is automatically hating that person because of their opposition to the main character. Unless they're the love interest. They give them a slide when they're a love interest, but they're not. The fandom automatically like hates them and thinks they're trash. And I've always had a problem with that because I never understood the whole like, oh, this person's a bad guy when they are a bad guy. Or what I'm talking about in this video is, oh, this person's a bad guy. What bad things have they done? Not agree or went against the main character, who in themselves can be wrong. And I've noticed lots of times the more obvious thing to say is this person is this or that. To give an example, I was in a live recently and we were talking about Pit Babe, and they were like, "Oh, Charlie is suspicious," and I don't know, guys. That's not even like necessarily a hot take per se because he is being suspicious. You know what I mean? And like I feel like the energy coming from that is, oh, we should not like him, we should not trust him because he's being suspicious. Which, sure, that is the takeaway you have, but I don't know if the show is really showing us a reason to be so protective and going for our main character, which is Babe, and Pavel playing Babe. Um, I just thought that was so strange to me, and I'm like, sure, he's being shady, cool. I don't know this character enough to be protective of him, so hopefully he gets out of it if there's something going on here. I'm inclined to believe that Charlie isn't doing anything. He's doing something for himself or some type of cause, but he's not trying to do it to hurt Babe in any way. But if he is, sure, that could also be the case. It'll be too obvious for him to be shady and secretive, and him actually be some type of supervillain with no noble cause. You know what I mean? But what I also noticed during the discourse with that is the character of Wei, how we were all like, oh, he's so jealous. He's so jealous of Charlie and he's doing this because he has feelings, which, sure. Honestly, the show was way too heavy handed with that. We got a little bit of it in the first episode and they really went ham in the second episode. And I was like, I get it, but also in the show, they show a reason for him to be justified with Babe being so willing to have Charlie in the mix from jump. He just met this boy. He got the codes to the apartment. He's at the meetings. He's in the garage. He's at the track. He's in the car. He's doing all those things that normally wouldn't be allowed. And I think Wei being, you know, the childhood best friend who's in love with him kind of discredits his things he's noticing because it's weird. Actually, they're all noticing it, but he's the only who has concern for it. And to be like, well, he's just jealous is a bit of a, to me, an odd take as well because I'm like, he has every reason to. Yes, he might be, you know, having feelings for Babe. He might be jealous. Sure, I'm not saying he not. That's clear. But since the show is so heavy handed with saying that message, I don't know. We should, as the audience, should rally behind that notion as well, because we see Babe acting out of pocket. Do we not? And that's the whole point of this video. It seems like everything's taken at face value and the context of it all isn't being considered when we formulate these opinions. And even when we try to respond to someone's rebuttal, it's always like they don't want to consider their point of view when you bring up these other things that are happening in the same episode. Um, that happened a lot with me during OnlyFriends. You know, everyone dragged Top. 4 episodes. And I'm like, I know I got called a top apologist because I was defending Top, but like it warranted. Like y'all were not considering everything that was happening. I mean, someone said in the comments, it was when it first happened. Someone said in the comments, well, he wanted to sleep with Boston. He just needed a reason to. How'd you know that? That wasn't shown in the show. It was shown that he was a nice guy, a stand up guy. Yes, he did sleep with that boy, but he regretted it. He told him off. As I said a billion times when I was watching Only Friends, but for everyone who's like, well, no, 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 he still. It was weird to see the fandom take everything from face value, take assumptions and run with it. Like people assume you're a certain way because you're a f boy or a playboy, and you're inherently evil and terrible person when there's nothing that's being shown to back that up. You know what I mean? You can kind of suspect some things or not like a certain action someone does, but making that their whole character or just taking it for what that was by itself without considering the other things that contradict that is so frustrating. It's so frustrating, especially when you want to have a conversation about points of views. Like, I don't have a problem with you just feeling like, oh, he's terrible. I just think you're dismissing the other context to make your opinion just stick. And it's like, no, not everyone does that. Don't get me wrong. Everyone, I remember people saying, like, I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. I see the stuff. He's not bad. I just feel a ways because personally, if that happened to me, I'd be upset and not really tunnel vision. And I was like, oh, period. That makes sense. If you can explain it in a way where it's like my personal feelings would cloud my judgment on based on like considering everything, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Especially if you say, oh, I see what you mean. Like I'm not saying you have to agree with me, but if you have nothing to go against the logic I might be bringing to the table, then I'm not trying to really hear all that because it's not going here or there. Um, Another example. Oh, during Dangerous Romance, everyone was against the father when they saw he paid off the coach to have his son on the team, and they were gonna like call him trash. He's the father of the year in quotes, and I was like, well, first of all, Kong himself did the same thing in this show. I don't understand how no one's bringing that up. No one's considering that because that's the first thing I thought. I was like, okay, well, you did the same thing. You see how it looks. You see how it is. It ain't great. Learn your lesson, buddy. And I know he wasn't being that kind of person by the time that happened with his dad, but still, I would have really. I That's why I had no feelings about it. You know what I mean? But also, he's our main character, right? He's our main character, and for some reason we have to side with him because he is. Because he was terrible in the first 2 episodes. They kind of dropped that and like it never happened really. I mean, they brought it up again, but it was played like it wasn't a big deal. Um, but I don't think he's done anything for us to really, like I said, be protective and kind of like. Now with Colin's case, it's a little different because we spent more time with him than we did with Babe in these 2 episodes. And by that time, it was like episode 10, I think, or 9. So we did spend more time with Kong. So it makes a little bit more sense for us to be more on his side, but not me. As you saw, I thought he was a jerk. I thought, his reasoning for being upset was really half baked. Like your dad pays for everything you want. You can do whatever you want, however you want to do it, and you're mad because he doesn't want to discipline you or expect anything from you. But when he tried to, you got scared. You kind of tensed up, and he stopped. And then we found out later on that he was stern, and your mom wanted him to be nicer to you because you were scared of him. So it's a contradiction. It was weird. It was weird. But what was weirder is that everyone was against the dad, and the dad, from what we saw, was the most jovial, cool, chill guy I've ever seen. He was. And you could say yes, he kind of came at Kong sideways for getting in trouble at the club, but Kong was in the wrong. Was he not underage in the club? And you could say, oh, he didn't care about his son. He only cared about his political, his campaign. how else is he gonna pay the bills to take care of his family? His job is on the line, and you're messing it up. Kong is not absolved from that because the dad wants to maintain a his standing in the company or whatever he was doing, the political thing, whatever he's got going on. If he was doing nefarious things and like secret behind the scenes shady mess, sure, let's run with that. But that was not the case in the show. So he's not wrong for being upset that his son's out here doing illegal activities. Number one. And number two, stuff that could potentially hurt his career and his situation. You see what I mean? And when I bring up how his dad was, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot he was." Yeah, because even the show did flashbacks, and the dad was so nice and cool. I know Kong has an issue with his dad, and he feels his dad is doing him dirty, but what's being presented isn't really jiving with what he's saying. So it's hard to get behind him. But because he's the main character, everyone gets behind him and hates who he hates. But there's nothing that doesn't make any sense. So it makes it harder for when I have these conversations and do these lives. I feel like I know I can be more critical than the average Joe. I have more issues with things than the average Joe, and I understand that. I can acknowledge that my point of view can be polarizing or a bit like just because I know people can be very complacent with these shows. They're very much so. It is what it is. It's just boys' love. Like, it's going to be a slow burn. There's going to be filler episodes. There's going to be, and I get it. I get, like, I don't like being complacent. There's a bunch of shows I don't have egregious amount of filler or have things that are frustrating to watch for episodes. Not all shows do that. They're capable of having better storytelling, better pacing, more things done. There's shows that do that. So that's not even an excuse, but I understand that on average, yes. The stuff I dislike will most likely happen in a series more times than not. I get it. I just feel like us excusing, or not us excusing, us trying to combat criticism that someone may have on that with that, then what's the point of having a conversation? If the show's going to spend time doing nothing for 3 episodes, and we can't criticize the show for doing that because it's per the course, what's the point of having the conversation? What's the point of giving opinions? What's the point of that? It doesn't matter. You know? And I don't know how to approach it from now on because I can easily go into the territory of sound like a jerk because it does get a little bit dismissive when someone's like, oh, well, that's just how it is, or like they're going to show more things later on. They're going to expand the story later on, or this is how the show's supposed to be. And I'm like, sure. But if you want to talk about the show and what's going on, and there's cracks in the plot, cracks in this pacing, the characters are not really someone you want to root for. They're assaulting each other, they're doing bad things. But you want to believe in it, or you want to be against the person that's an obvious villain, and that's like, what are we talking about that for? Because obviously they're a villain. Or when the character is not even given the chance to be a villain, just the person doesn't like them. The main character doesn't like them, so we're going against them. It doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below. Let me know how I should approach this or how I should go about it, because it does make the talking points kind of hard to want to do. Like, I don't, because I like having the conversation about these series, and like, like I like that. It's so fun to do so. Now, not every show's gonna hit for me, and I do find recently I found some peace because I was talking to my Discord, and I was wondering why no one responded to my criticism to Kaseki. Like, no one's really had a rebuttal to what I was saying during all those reactions. But they were like, oh, this show was so good. And they were talking about like how great it is and like what's going on. But no one responded to anything that I was saying in my videos. Even though they did comments on my videos, no one responded to what I was saying. And I found out that they themselves don't necessarily disagree with me. And I was shocked. I was shocked. They were like, well, yeah, I see your point of view. I see what you're saying. Especially if you watch someone, if I say this during the reaction, you know what I'm talking about as it happens. I can point out directly Because if I talk about it afterwards, you may not remember all the, because the episodes are long. They can be long, 45 minutes to an hour. You may not remember every little detail, and what I might be criticizing may not be in your mind because you're thinking about this. The more pivotal moments are the ones you talk about or care about. So that makes sense. But people who are watching me react and see what I'm saying, they were like, yeah, I just like the chemistry with the actors. I like these actors. They are attractive. And I was like, oh. Some even said, oh, I ignore those more problematic things or stuff that doesn't make any sense and just take what this chunk of what I like is and run with it. And I was like, now that's something I already know. That's you have to be that way for you to be like most of these shows to be so good and so great. You have to just be in love with the actors or them being close to each other or their chemistry. The actual show itself, the storyline isn't that great. And I know that, but like people act like it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm always like, what? What's going on? Why do you feel that way? Because I'm not seeing it. But now I know people can agree with you, but just also still enjoy or still like it regardless. And I'm like, okay, I get that. Like there's some shows I think are terrible, but I really go up for, and I get it. Now I'm not gonna tell you it's good. I'm gonna still tell you it's bad, but I'm gonna tell you I enjoy it if I do. And some shows are not like necessarily bad, but they can be boring or there's not anything unique about it. It's not essential. You know, like I like that show. I Cannot Reach You. I really like it, like a lot actually. I don't think you're not missing anything by watching it. You're not. You're not. And I that sounds kind of bad, but like slice of life romance show. If you've seen an anime like that, you've seen this kind of narrative. Now, I do enjoy it. And I do think it's good, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you're gonna lose your mind over it. It's the standard. It's the standard. You know what I mean? But yeah, let me know your thoughts below on this. Let me know how I should go about it. How I should. I just want to know your point of view on this and see if I'm tripping. Which sometimes I feel like I might be, because I feel so alone in it. Like I don't want to like anyone to rally behind me to like misery loves company kind of thing. I don't want to do that, but I just know sometimes rebuttals and kind of responses to my criticisms aren't like it's not considering the whole scope of what's happening or what I'm actually saying. Like another example when I said in Nature's Romance like, oh, Salmon has no plot line, he has no story. Everyone was like, oh, don't talk about him. I love him. I love him so much. I'm like, you didn't listen to what I just said. I said he has no plot line, which is true. You didn't respond by saying, "Oh, here's a plot line. Here's his plot line." I mean, you couldn't because there wasn't one. He had nothing. His whole story, his character revolved around Kong, and that was it. And he was presented as our main character, that's why I had an issue with. I'm like, why are we not getting anything from him? Why is he always being saved by this boy? It furthers his narrative, not his own. But me saying that, bringing it up. Oh no, I love him. He's don't. But I didn't. What I say that was against him. I'm acknowledging the show is not giving him a storyline. Nothing for us to follow. We're following the jerky boyfriend whose biggest problem is his daddy pay for his stuff. You know what I mean? So like, it gets kind of frustrating. But yeah, let me know, and I will see y'all in the next video.